Saint Therese of the Child Jesus was not the first to practice spiritual childhood. Rather, Jesus Christ as the eternal Son of God, as the one who proceeds eternally from the Father and who receives everything from the Father. He is the one who ultimately is the model of spiritual childhood. We profess this when we pray the Nicene Creed. We pray that Jesus is God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made, consubstantial with the Father. The Dominican priest, Father Giles Emery, sums it up well. Reflecting on St. Thomas Aquinas' treatises on the Trinity, he says that the entire divine essence is communicated to the Son, who possesses it in a distinct mode, namely as having received it. This is why Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, preaching a retreat before Pope St. John Paul II, said that the entire personality of Jesus is expressed in his prayer. The highest dignity of Jesus is not in some power he wielded, but rather in his orientation towards the other, toward God the Father. And it is in this filial orientation towards the Father, in which he receives everything from the Father, that Jesus invites us to participate when he tells us to pray, Our Father. And it makes sense that all Christian prayer would be this filial receptivity towards the Father, because all Christian prayer is made through, with, and in the Son of God who receives all from the Father. And so it makes sense for all Christian prayer to reflect this filial attitude, but especially for the prayer of contemplation, which John of the Cross says, true contemplation lies in receiving. And so it makes sense that Saint Therese of the Child Jesus, who was a great contemplative in the Carmelite order and a true daughter of Saint John of the Cross, that she would reflect in her own prayer and in her own spiritual path this way of receiving everything from the Father, that her spiritual life would be marked by this filial receptivity towards God. And so we can ask, how did Saint Therese show this in her life? And one aspect is in her prayer. She writes, "For me, prayer is an aspiration of the heart, a simple glance toward heaven, a cry of gratitude and of love, embracing both trial and joy." And so Saint Therese, who in her own prayer experienced great dryness and even fell asleep often during her hours of prayer, did not get discouraged. She used that as an opportunity to turn her glance towards the Father of mercies, confident that she would receive from him what he wanted to give. And we see it also not just in her prayer, but in her daily occupations as she tried to be attentive to where Jesus was leading her. She writes, "Never have I heard him speak, but I feel he is within me at every moment. He is guiding me and inspiring me with what I must say and do. I find within me, right at the moment that I need them, certain lights that I had not seen until then. And it is not most frequently in my hours of prayer that these lights come to me, but in the midst of my daily occupations." And so we see that Saint Therese, despite the powerlessness that she felt, not only in her prayer, but also in her daily efforts to practice virtue, she turned her glance toward Jesus, trusting that he would give her the inspiration and the power to do what he was calling her to do. And does this not remind us of the attitude we see in Jesus, who says that the Son never does anything of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing?